Okay, I'm going to do a quick video on how to use Claude code to produce a piece of software that hopefully isn't too sloppy and actually works. So to show what I've learned about Claude code over the last few weeks. So I guess the first thing is bring up a terminal. Okay, here we go. And I'm in my code directory. So I thought I'd make a bookmark manager for browsers. Haven't really put any thought into it ahead of doing this demo. So we'll see how we go. So let's create a folder and go into it. Okay, now I'll start up Claude. First of all, I'll see if there's any updates. They do release a lot of updates. In fact, there's rumours of a new version of the models coming tomorrow. Right, so it's up to date. Claude, and I always do this, do so at your own risk. Dangerously skip permissions. Okay, so now we're in Claude, and if we have a look at the model that we're using, we should be using Opus 4.5, I think Sonnet. Yeah, Opus 4.5, which is great for doing the specs, and the research is not needed for implementing the actual code, thankfully. So yeah, you do have to pay some money for Claude. I usually use the £20 a month plan. Over Christmas I've had the £90 a month plan for 1 month. It's about to run out, so good timing on the video. I think you can make good progress on the cheaper plan, but obviously you'll find that you run out of tokens quite quickly. Tokens are like the currency of the AI model. The more you talk to the AI and the more information you put in the chats, the more tokens it will use. You can always see how many tokens you've got left, and you can look at usage. And there you go, 2% for the current session, 3% for the current week. So yeah, that shows you that. Okay, so worth noting, context windows are a really key part of using AI. So use clear often when it makes sense to, because every time you do a chat or add conversation or get the model to generate you code or tokens, it gradually fills up this thing called the context window, which is like an array. Once this window is full up past about 60%, your AI will start getting dumber. It will start losing its ability to make good decisions. Okay, anyway, where was I? So I want to create some specs, so let's just type some command in here. So I would like to create a bookmark manager. And need to create some specs. Please start by doing some research on the top available existing solutions. Listing each one's pros and cons. Produce a detailed research document. Also, if you do Shift Tab until at the bottom it says plan mode on, which means it won't attempt to write any code. Obviously it's far too early to write code. What we're doing is trying to create some specs of what we might want this bookmark manager to do, and it seems a good place to start is to look at other bookmark managers and what features they offer. So here we go, it's thinking. And what I might do in this video is pause a couple of times, like now it's thinking, and going through rather than you sit looking at me, wait for stuff to finish. But anyway, yeah, the basic plan is to do this research, then I'll get it to interview me on what I think should go in a bookmark manager. Might ask it to do some more research, and importantly get it to persist all this research and the interview in markdown files in the current repo. I say the current repo, we don't even have a repo yet, so I must remember to do that. A GitHub repo. Okay, I might pause this for a short while. Okay, so it ran for a few minutes, and now it's come to some sort of conclusion. So if I scroll back through the thing, what it did, you see all this stuff. It web search agents it ran, ping board, link warden, all these different products. It had a look at all those and compiled them into a detailed research document. Okay, and it says I've created a comprehensive research document, etc. And here is Claude's plan. We don't really want a plan at the moment, that's the thing, but what we really want is this research stored in a markdown file in a repository. And I haven't got time to read through all this now, but obviously it's done a lot of research. And scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. At the end, Claude has written up a plan and is ready to execute. Would you like to proceed? And I don't want to proceed with execute. I think it wants to start writing code, which is we're far away from that. So I'll just exit that. I realised we made a folder, but we're not currently in a Git repo, so I'll start by asking it, please create a Git repo in the current folder. And let it think about that and do that. Hopefully I don't need to pause the video again. It shouldn't take too long to do that. Okay, great. Use save, please, why not? Please save the research document you created to a markdown file in this repo, then commit and push this, then commit it. Because currently it's done this big plan, it's done all this research, but it's probably going to be in a user folder somewhere on Windows. It's not in the repo. We want it in the repo so that we can clear the context being this sort of memory of what we've been talking about. You need to clear the context to keep the AI smart. If the context fills up, it gets dumb. So yeah, we're going to save this to markdown file, and it'll be persisted, and we can go ahead and clear the context. I might pause the video. Let's quickly pause it rather than sit here. Okay, yep, it's done. It did take a couple more minutes. So you see it's written this file. It's chosen to write it called to docs research bookmark manager research.md because I didn't specify where I wanted it stored. I was happy to let it choose where to put it. You can see apparently it thinks the bookmark manager market is valued at $1.2 billion, which seems a lot. And here it says, yep, it's committed it to this file. Here's a commit hash. The document covers 12 bookmark manager solutions with detailed pros and cons, blah blah blah. Okay, if I switch to another terminal window just to confirm that, let's change to that folder. I should better see it's here. Nothing to commit, working tree is clean. Okay, what I actually want to do is push this to GitHub. Why not? It's early days, but please push this to a new repo in GitHub. It'll give me a chance to show you where my GitHub stuff is, including where this repo is, which is hopefully, when you're watching this video, is a bit more advanced than where we are now. So now it's created it in github.com/chrisbrooksbank/bookmark manager. So we'll go there, why not? And they see it's a file it created. It's quite a reasonable length, and it goes through all the commercial solutions and the key features and the pros and the cons and the weaknesses, who it's best for, what the pricing is. This one apparently has been discontinued, called Pocket. Scroll down and you just see. So it's useful stuff it's done. So starting from nothing, we've now generated a lot of information about bookmark managers and what we could be doing, and it's got sources. In the bad old days it would hallucinate these a lot, but this Opus 4.5, the model we're using now, seems fine. It doesn't hallucinate these links at all. Okay, so yeah, so if I switch back here, I'm going to practice what I preach and clear it. So now we're in an empty context window. It doesn't know anything about what we've been talking about. It's got no memory of that. But I would like it to read the research document. So I'll do study, the markdown file containing the research. It's an LLM, so you don't need to be specific. You don't need to tell the exact file name. It will figure it out. And the reason I'm asking it to do this is so it gets that research into its context window, but it's lost all the other clutter, the conversation, the thinking, all that stuff has been cleared out, so the model should be smarter than it would otherwise be. And I'm doing this because the next step, different projects I might do a lot more research than this. Yeah, it's worth asking it. So, is there any other research you recommend before starting to plan the implementation? Sometime I'll have to get it set up to use a microphone. A lot of people use microphones, saves all this typing, so you can just literally chat to the model. But this is fine, not doing too much typing. So yeah, I want it to interview me on my thoughts about its research and what I think is important. But first I'll ask it, what else do you think you should look up? And it's already started asking about technology, which I don't really want. The focus area, tech stack. So no, let's exit that, but you can see there, that can be useful. Sometimes you'll recommend, for example, researching the science of the thing you're building first, but that's not relevant here. So I'm going to say, okay, we need to come up with some specs to help with that, and using your research, please interview me so we can get a better understanding of the MVP required. And the keywords here is interview. You ask the AI to interview you, so we'll see what it comes up with here. Let's do it. I'm going to interview you. Who's the primary user for this bookmark manager? Okay, I don't want to put too much thought into these questions because I want to not have a hugely long video. You might want to put more thought into it. Do we want the heavy bookmarkers? Or casual users? People who save articles occasionally? What do you think? I think power users at least will give it more meat to think. So let's Let's assume that we're doing power users. Apparently that aligns well with the gap in the market for tools like this, but with better UX. AIs are always polite to you. Sometimes they're overly polite, so obviously be suspicious of that. The AI that always agrees with you and says how great your ideas are. Don't trust that. Okay. How will users primarily access the bookmark manager? Web app, which is what it recommends, or a browser extension, or a desktop, or blah blah blah. Yeah, web app makes sense. Web app is a solid MVP choice. Extension can come in version 2. It says, how should it be deployed and hosted? Okay, it said self-hosted, recommended, Docker based. Not sure about Docker. Let's chat more about this. As with my CM123 Go PWA, I guess we could use Netlify hosting. There's another app I did, which is local transport web page, and I think Netlify was the name of the URL, but I'm not too sure. We'll see what it says anyway. Okay, let's maybe pause the video there. Oh, no, it's come back. That's helpful context. Netlify works great for static PWA hosting, but for bookmark manager, you may need to think about where the data lives. Okay, that's smart. So where should the data live? Data could be in IndexedDB. It works offline and no backend needed, which fits Netlify well. Or maybe we need a cloud database. All works offline by default. Let's start with the simple option so that we can, we can build on the simple option first. But this is MVP. This wouldn't be a great bookmark manager because if you clear out your local browser cache entirely, you're presumably going to lose data. But we'll do as a start. How should the bookmarks be organized? Tags only. Flat structure with multiple tags, or traditional hierarchy, or folders and tags, which is what it recommends. Sure. Folders and tags. I've got another side project I did which uses Supabase, I think it's called, as the back end. So we might end up using that because that gives you a database, but for now let's stick with the easy, everything on the web, stored locally approach. What level of search do you need? Basic, full text, or semantic AI search? Let's go for basic search for now. But yeah, the interviews are always worthwhile because they will sometimes ask you questions that you haven't really thought of, and it's deciding what questions to ask you. And because we told it to study the research document, it should be asking us relevant questions. As it says, basic search keeps the MVP lean. Full text can come later. Should the app save page content to prevent link rot? No archiving, all capture screenshots, all the full page archive. Save the URL, title and description. I'm going to keep a screenshot as well, why not? Noodling. These words are fairly random. Apparently they're going to let you customize these. We might be able to customize these, but pretty much an irrelevance. Okay, let's quickly pause again, mate. It looks like it's going to be thinking for. Oh, there we go. Screenshot capture provides visual context. Note for pure web app, capturing screenshots typically needs a service or extension. We'll address this in planning. Okay, we might go back on that for the first one then. How will users add bookmarks, manual entry, bookmarklet, import from browser, all of the above. Yeah, I gave it all of the above. This is what it recommended. How should bookmarks be displayed? Card and list views. Yeah. Go for both of those. Seems to make sense. No data portability. Critical for power users. Import and export formats. I'm going to say HTML for plus JSON is probably good. He hasn't recommended any of them, so I'll just go for that for now. Covers both user-friendly and developer needs. Okay, what front-end framework tech do you prefer? React, Vue, Svelte, if that's how you pronounce it. Probably go for Svelte and SvelteKit. I don't know much about these except to have used these on other side projects I've Vibecoded up, so seems to work well. And another great thing about AI is if you change your mind, you can just get it to convert the code from one language to another. Specific features that are must-haves. Dark mode, I don't feel is a must-have. Bulk operations does feel like a must-have. Keyboard shortcuts feels like a must-have. Select multiple bookmarks to tag, move and delete. Do I need to add notes to bookmark for context? Yes, let's say so. And then submit that. Submit answers. All power user focused features. One more question on styling. Which styling approach? Tailwind is what it recommends. And sure, I've used that before on side projects and it looks pretty good. I think Tailwind is a pretty popular framework. Yep, Tailwind as SvelteKit is a productive combo. Is there existing code in this project or are we starting afresh? We're starting afresh. It didn't. As a rhetorical question, it had a look at the repo, saw there's no code and said, good, this is a greenfield project with just a research doc. Let me write up the MVB specification based on our interview. So we'll let it do that. One thing about Claude, you can type while it's thinking and it kind of adds it in the queue. So I could say, well, the MVP spec, we definitely want that as an output, but we also would like, please persist details on this interview to, oh, see, this happens. I'm halfway through typing. What should we name it? Sure. So dark mode being MVP? Sure. How should we handle fetching URL metadata? Cause proxy surface, use a free proxy, use netlify function. I'll use netlify because I've already said I'm going to use that. Netlify lets you easily define small proxies. Submit answers. Please persist details of this interview to the repo. Okay. Please persist details on this interview to the repo as a markdown separate to the MVP itself. Okay. Updated plan, and I assume we used a bit more of the context window now, so I'll ask it how much context window we've used just out of interest. We're going to clear it again soon. I just need to persist everything to markdown files before we clear it, otherwise we've lost that thinking. Those outcomes will have been lost, which we don't want. Might pause the video here. It's like it's thinking a bit. Okay, as soon as I paused it, it came back. So here we go. A lot of stuff. You see project structure, proposed project structure, MVP scope summary. We're going to persist all this to markdown files. If you don't persist it, it's in a plan file somewhere, but you might lose it. So let's not do that. These are the interview summary. Would you like to proceed? Well, no. Okay, please make sure the interview and the MVP spec are persisted to MD files in this repo, then commit and push. MD is just a markdown file. Okay, should I exit plan mode to create the documentation files and commit? Yes, and create docs. Would you like to proceed? No. Have you committed? Have you committed? Okay, what docs? Print out. I could just look, of course. The MVP in the file to persist them, I need to create. So it hasn't created the documents now. So it's all you have to check in. You can check obviously by going into Windows Explorer or just by having a chat. Yes, please persist them in repo now. I don't know whether it has persisted them yet, so it's being a bit tricky. Docs, it's only got this. It's because I didn't come out of plan mode. I had to shift tab to exit the plan mode, because when you're in plan mode it's not allowed to write anything. Okay, it's gonna do it now. It's wearing, it's thinking. I'm going to pause it. Okay, so it has finished now. It has persisted these two files. I'm looking here at my GitHub and you can see it's got docs research. That was what we had before. But now we've also got this specs folder with interview notes file in it. Again, it's markdown. And the MVP spec. Okay. Right, so I need to get back to here. Right, so I'm going to clear again. Right, I'm thinking now about running a plugin. I'm not sure if I've only got two commands that I've got defined in my Claude myself. One of which is to scaffold a new TypeScript project with LLM guardrails. Now we've already got the tech stack here, but we haven't specified guardrails, and guardrails are absolutely key. You're going to have the AI generate all this code by itself, so you need to have as many tests as you can to make sure that the code it writes is good code that compiles that lint thinks is valid code. There's no extra code that's not being used, so let's run this anyway. It's maybe a mistake. Gather some details. What is the project name? Actually, I'm not going to do this. Okay. I'll come back to this. It's going to interfere. So, let's actually say I'm a bit concerned there are no guardrails. See the CB new project / commands for ideas. This new era is like you don't have to remember how everything works. You can just have a chat about it. Obviously, what you don't want is to leave it generating code for hours potentially and come back and nothing works. You're right to be concerned. This project is essentially bare, just a Git repo with docs but no code infrastructure yet. Since you're starting fresh, this is the perfect time. Would you like me to run? I'll just say please add them incrementally. We need the guardrails. Would have been quicker just to actually run the / CB new project, but this shows how you can have a conversation at all times. We need the guardrails. We need to stick with the tech stack already decided for this project though and persisted to markdown files in this repo. Let me read the docs to understand the chosen tech stack. What I didn't want to do is overwrite the tech stack we'd already picked with whatever is happening inside CB new project. Got it. Tech stack is this and this. There's no package. I'll need to initialize this. Then it guardrails incrementally. Okay. Let's just let it run this. Seems like a good time to pause. Okay, it's still actually running this thing. You can see it's adding prettier and Vitest and Husky for Git hooks and Git hooks, dead code detection, etc., etc. But what I thought I could come in is show you how on my GitHub, if you really want to look at these commands like the CB new project, we can find that. Let's see if I can find it. Not right here. Here. Okay, let's go into my repositories, and we have here Claude code commands repo, which is here, and you can see the CB new project.md. It's literally just a markdown file. This thing, which looks like this, it says this skill scaffolds. Called a skill. It's not actually a skill. Skills are something slightly differently, but anyway, it tells you what guards it wants to add, and before scaffolding, what questions to ask, or what decisions to make, and generate only the files needed based on user selections. Blah blah blah. So, it's quite a lot of it actually. But yeah, have a look at that if it's interesting. Skipping ahead a bit. When we've got the spec done and the guardrails scaffolded, we'll then be looking at something else, which is using this / command Ralph Wiggum. And what this does is look at the project and change things around so it's ready to use a Ralph Wiggum loop. Ralph Wiggum loop is something that causes the AI to run in a loop, literally. So you'd be calling Claude, be saying to Claude, right, find the next most important task to do, do that task, update the plan to say that you've done it, or if you can't do it, then update the plan to say you had a problem, then exit, and then the loop will go around again. Claude will start again with a completely fresh context, so it will be smart, not dumb, hopefully, and it work through the next, pick the next task and work that, and that's what you leave running for hours potentially, depending on how much work it's doing. But let's see how it's doing now. Still working, I think. It's still working. It's almost done, maybe. Adding GitHub actions. I think the GitHub actions are so that we can enforce some rules on doing commits, so it can't commit really bad code, basically. Can't remember all the details. Okay, well, that's still running. I'll leave that. I'll pause that again. Okay, apparently it's finished. All guardrails are now in place. It says what was added: ESLint, Prettier, VI test, Husky, NIP, and CI. And it, if you scroll back up, you can see the changes it made to install these packages, etc., etc. Is everything needed committed? I'll just to this repo. Yeah. For example, that warning, the adapter warning at the end is expected. You'll need to switch from adapter auto to adapter netlify when you set up the netlify config. I probably won't show the netlify setup in this video because the video is already a lot longer than I thought it'd be. Okay. Would you like me to commit and push these changes? If I just do tab or put the grayed out thing. Always make sure that everything you've been talking about has persisted if you need it persisted. Committed. Otherwise you'll have to repeat the process at some point. Yet again, I might pause this. Okay, it's done. It says it's done. Everything is committed and pushed. So there, and it's prompting. Maybe the next thing you'd like to do is add Tailwind CSS. Well, no, what I'm going to do now, everything's persisted, is clear it. So we've back in the smart zone. So the context is empty. So what I'm going to do now is to run my other command, which is cb Ralph Wiggum, which just should set the things up for this Ralph Wiggum loop. It was just a way of running the AI so it has a completely fresh context for every task. It does that one task, updates the progress to say it's done, and finishes. But so we'll need to create the files that run this loop. We'll also need to put the spec in a certain format that is expected and create this implementation plan file. Anyway, you'll see if I just run cb Ralph Wiggum, again that's on my GitHub if you want that, but it's literally a markdown file. It says I'll help you scaffold the Ralph Wiggum autonomous AI development setup. Let me first check the existing project state, because it's set up, you can do this right at the start of the project, or you could be running this like halfway or 3/4 of the way through development and you just want to do some Ralph Wiggum looping. What do you want to build or accomplish with this bookmark manager? What is a project goal? One sentence describing the end goal. Browser bookmark manager. Seems good. What are the main jobs, outcomes users need? Because what it's doing is constructing specs, but from a user-centered perspective, which is how Ralph Wiggum works. It expects this JTBD format, this user requirements-based format. So what are the main jobs and outcomes? Select all that apply. Create, read, update, delete bookmarks, yes. Organize bookmarks, yes. Search and filter, yes. Import and export, yes. Next. How will you know when the project is done? All tests pass. A manual. Define set of features must work. I'll just go for all tests pass for now because that's all can be done automatically. Submit answers. I have what I need. Let me create all the Ralph Wiggum scaffolding files. While it's doing that, let's have a look again briefly at the Ralph Wiggum. How does that work? Well, there's the repo. It's got some examples and specs in here, but basically it's just this. If you look in commands, it's this file. This is the key one. There's this skill, scaffolds, Jeffrey Huntley's Ralph Wiggum methodology. What is it? When to use it, before scaffolding, detect existing project state. I didn't write all this smartness by hand. What I did to build this file in the first place was have a conversation with Claude saying, I want you to research Jeffrey Huntley's Ralph Wiggum method. I would like a / command that allows me to add the Ralph Wiggum method to any project, whether existing or new. And there might have been some back and forward, but it will have generated all this. And this lives in a special folder, I think, .claude, and then commands maybe. But yeah, it's all a prompt. It's all English. And it's still running, so I'll pause the video again. No sooner paused than done. Ralph Wiggum scaffolding is complete. Here's what was created. See the prompt plan, the prompt build. These are two prompts that it uses. One prompt it uses when creating the plan. The other when executing the plan, which is when it iterates a lot in a loop. Here are project commands extracted from package.json. Here's the implementation plan, which is currently empty, but it will fill that in when we run the plan mode, and then when we run the build mode it will iterate through that and mark stuff as done as it's done, and some specs in the format required by the Ralph Wiggum. Now one thing, my current skill for Ralph Wiggum only produces a .sh file, and I found it works much better in Windows if we use a PowerScript file, so I think he created a bash command. Before we are running in Windows. Can you please create a PowerShell PowerShell v7 version of this bash script and commit and press all. Iteration cost, it says there. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but I pay a monthly fee. So say normally £20 a month. For this month only, I paid £90, so I got a lot more tokens, so I could play with this a lot more before running out of tokens. So yeah, it knows what I'm talking about. You speak in English. It says it's written 1 lines to loop.ps1. It's now doing the commit and push all. I wondered what it was doing. It's doing the commit and push all. That's what it's doing now. Pretty shortly I'm going to exit Claude entirely. There we go. It's created all this stuff and it's pushed it. Let's exit Claude entirely. fact, let's leave this one window open. Right, and now if we look at our repos and find the repo for this, we can have a quick look at the files. Here's the implementation plan. It will be blank. Okay, so let's firstly fill that. So to do that, I'm going to run Claude again, dangerously. No, I'm not going to run Claude again, am I? I'm going to run loop. In fact, I'm in a command prompt. I need to be in a Windows PowerShell prompt. So there we go, because it's a PowerShell script. Loop.ps1 takes a parameter, plan or build. I think build might be the default, but anyway, I'll do plan and the number of iterations. Now, should only need one iteration to do the plan. It just does it all in one go. But let's run it and see if it works. What we're expecting it to do is to fill in that implementation plan we looked at. This one we can shut. So here, this is what we're looking for it to populate. And I'll pause this because I don't know how long it'll take. Okay, we're back. It's done that plan iteration, and Ralph Loop finished after one iteration. So just having a look, it took about 4 minutes. It's analysed all the specifications and the current code base, created a comprehensive implementation plan with 58 prioritised tasks, organised into 8 phases. Okay, key architectural notes, blah blah blah. Plan is ready for build mode iterations. Each task is small and focused on a single deliverable. Back to personal state, blah blah blah. So git status looks clean. So if I look here and refresh, this is what the implementation plan looked like before we ran the plan iteration of Ralph Loop. And now it looks like the same thing. Well, that's not what we wanted, is it? Hang on. Maybe I need to git push. I didn't need to git push. Okay, so now if I go into it, here we go. And you see it's got these plans, the phases, the tasks, and each one's got a checkbox in it. So the AI will tick things off because it only gets to do one task on one loop. So the next loop it needs to be able to look at this plan and see what's already been done so it can work out what to do next. So I'm going to come and bring this video to a close very shortly. There will be a follow-up video just showing it hopefully working, or if there's other stuff I needed to do after this to get it actually working. But let's run the loop again, but in build mode, and let's give it, there's 58 tasks. I'm going to allow it like 60 iterations for now, and I'll just leave it running. And yeah, as I say, I'll end this video now, and there could be a follow-up one later. We'll just have a look at the repo to see what it did. Okay, see you later.